I thought was my voice is just ambient talkers on the street.
Ambient Parisian soundscape.
Okay, I'm going to play a listener call to open the show. Sit tight.
David, Chaz, this is James from San Diego calling in. Many moons ago, I had called into the Grit asking about proposal advice. I was about to embark on a crazy surf trip. Girlfriend wanted to tag along, and I was like, oh man, is this the one? And a couple years later, through some ups and downs and getting a master's degree in the mix, we are now officially engaged. Since the Grit community was involved during the conception of this, felt like I owed it to call it in and let you all know. But very excited, super stoked, and just giving a shout out to the whole Grit community for always providing their input. So anyways, keep up the work. Hope you're getting some waves and get barreled.
Congratulations to James in San Diego.
Congratulations, James. And is this the first actual coupling that we've made, David Lee Scales, as a community?
It's the first one I know of.
I mean, I gotta think that I feel that we're close to naming some babies. I feel we've probably accidentally led to some relationship breakups. But this one right here is a first. James from San Diego, congratulations to you and the missus, and all the best.
If we did lead to some breakups, I'd say we expedited what was an eventuality anyways, because we give nothing but important quality advice. And so that breakup was coming.
Exactly. And I don't ever, trust me, I don't think the breakup would have come from the advice given. It would have come from the fiance or girlfriend sitting in the car for hours. Boyfriend, fiance, turning on the Grit and just listen along, chuckle every now and then. Her saying, this is inane. This is inane. And this is what he puts in his brain. No more.
That's a possibility. Welcome back. It's the Grit. It's August 2nd, 2024. Chaz is roaming the streets of Paris right now, operating mobily.
Roaming the streets of Paris, looking for the Brazilian surf fan, the brave, proud Brazilian surf fan, this Brazilian surf fan who says nothing will get in my country's way. Not a surf journalist, nor a evil judge this time, David Lee Scales.
I know. Wow. Lots to discuss as it relates to the Paris Olympics. I just want to know, before we get into that, how is your cancellation going? And have you gotten your Instagram account back yet from Meta?
Oh, I got my official notice from Instagram that my account is canceled forever. And you have no more way to, it just says at the end, there is no recourse for dispute. Goodbye.
Crazy.
Officially off Instagram for nothing but a busload of whingy Brazilians swinging in.
That's and how does it, have you found any solace in it or reprieve in your time off?
I will say, you want to know what's funny? What I did, you have the rote click where Instagram's on my main screen, first screen, right? And so you have it there. I moved it to the very end and I haven't visited it since, nor have I even thought about what's going on there. It's gone. It's out of my life. The first time I got canned off Insta, I thought, probably deserved. Let's be honest, right? It was like the copyright rules changed and everything when I was doing it, and I felt that was rude. I felt it was like, how do you change copyright rules midstream? Those copyright rules did not exist when I started about sharing viral stuff and all this. And then people go buy a video that I've posted, I've spoken about this, and then copyright it themselves and then bust me. So that all felt like business dirty, but it didn't feel personally dirty. This one felt like, oh man, so I got back on. This one I felt, no. If it's this easy to silence people, if all you got to do is get a bunch of people to complain, and again, I am under zero impression that there's a person there at Instagram actually looking through this, right? The Instagram robot got hit with a slew of complaints. The Instagram robot takes you off. The other Instagram robot then reviews those complaints. It just says, yep, there was a lot of complaints. And then you stay off. That's it. Because I read not that there was fine print, but the other print on the text, it was you basically as a person don't belong here. It's the wording is something like you got kicked off either because what you posted or who you are. Something like that. And so, it's so broad, there's no recourse. So I'm just thinking, why in the world am I going to give Zuck or this platform any more energy? Like it's a toxic stew. And I totally get the joy and the benefits that people have. Why I liked it most was for this very community here to get DMs or get sent funny stuff, whatever.
Yeah.
But aside from that, no, I'm done. I'm done with it. And not to be a come join me, but I will say if anybody's feeling like we gave Zuckerberg all the power, we can take all the power back if we want
Absolutely. Interesting. The one thing you'll miss on there is not being able to see Zuckerberg as he goes through his changes, as he goes through his metamorphosis into a full-on robot. He is the ultimate robot that you will be trying to game in order to get your account back. And you could lean on Kai Lenny if you wanted to. There's certain surf industry people who are actually friends with Zuck. But his transformation, he posted a video this week that was just leaps and bounds beyond the previous look that he was rocking. It looked literally like a robot.
That Mark Zuckerberg is like the Benjamin Button Pinocchio. He's the real boy at some point turning into a robotic puppet.
It really is crazy. Well, there's another robot that's actually takes the opposite stance. And this robot exists. Actually, it's Meta's own robot. Strangely, a listener sent this to me. He typed into Meta's AI, which is called Llama 3.2, and just asked the question about Chaz Smith's writing style. Said, tell me about Chaz Smith's writing style. Do you want to hear what it said?
Sure do. Llama, hit me up.
Llama 3.1 said Chaz Smith's writing style in this article. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. This was in reference specifically to your video and article about remembering Felipe Toledo's 16-hour reign as king at Chopo. So the Meta's assessment of that was Chaz Smith's writing style in this article is lyrical, poetic, and humorous with a touch of drama and hyperbole. He uses vivid imagery and metaphors, e.g., 16 proud and buoyant hours, quote, King of Chopu, quote, House Toledo, to create a whimsical and romanticized tone. He also employs irony and exaggeration to add humor and lightheartedness to the piece. Smith's use of language is playful and evocative, making the article feel more like an eulogy or an ode than a straightforward sports report. He's not just reporting on a surfing event. He's crafting a narrative that's both entertaining and endearing. His style adds layers of personality and charm to the article, making it engaging and enjoyable read.
That's exactly what Ricardo Toledo, the forebearer of House Toledo, was feeling as he watched those videos.
So you have one robot fighting for you within the metaverse and another one canceling you within the metaverse. They're going to do battle. This could be the end of Meta.
It's perfect. Oh man, if I was the end of Meta, I would feel so happy. Nothing would make me happier other than King Felipe's reign.
Yeah.
Short reign.
Well, okay. So the Olympics, let's get into it. You referenced a story about a judge, Ben Lowe, being ousted from the Olympics. This is a message sent by the ISA. They said, quote, the ISA is aware of a photo circulating on social media in which one of the Olympics surfing judges from Australia is seen socially interacting with another Australian athlete and the team manager. It is inappropriate for a judge to be interacting in this manner with an athlete or their team to protect the integrity and fairness of the ongoing competition in accordance with the IOC's code of conduct. The ISA committee has decided to remove the judge from the judging panel for the remainder of the competition. He's worked for the WSL for 18 years, and Ben Lowe fired from the Olympics and sent packing.
Hammer Town, and all thanks to what, David Lee Scales?
Pedro Scooby, the Brazilian.
A Brazilian surf fan. Let's be honest. That's who brought him low. It's not just a Brazilian surf fan. It's a complaining Brazilian surf fan. That is the secret sauce right there. You got to be Brazilian, got to be a surf fan, got to rabidly complain, whinge.
Well, the secret sauce for the Brazilians is to pile on in mass. Like, I don't think it's specific. Their country happens to do that, but we could do it too if we banded together as patriots to cancel somebody. But we don't. We don't care enough. I think they care more than anybody. But you're right. This was not this photo. So to be clear, it's a photo that was posted on Instagram. Ben Lowe, he's from North Stradbroke Island, and so is Bede Durbich, and which is a coach, and so is Ethan Ewing, which is a competitor. So it's the three of them saying Stratty boys get together in Tahiti or something like that. Pretty innocuous, no big deal.
Let's be honest, how many, as Derek Riley describes, 2,000 souls live on Stradbroke Island. So there's 2,000, or North Stradbroke Island. So there's 2,000 people here. 3 of them are at the Olympics. And not in Paris, mind you, not in Los Angeles, not in some big metropolitan place where they, be difficult to run into each other. But no, at Tahiti, in Chopu, at the end of the road, where there's a village of 2,000 people, or an island of 2,000 people going to a place with 18 people. And they stand on a dock and take a picture. Pedro Scooby, Brazilian surf fan, says this is evidence enough to 18 years of judging work. Fire him now. This is a affront to all Brazilians. And now I do believe there is 3 Brazilian judges, no Australian judges left. You don't hear anybody whinging about that. It's insane. Well, the Brazilian fan has lost his or her mind.
Well, what's insane is the IOC deciding, or whoever, deciding to cancel, to get rid of Ben is the accident, or the mistake here, because it's just more work for them. Like, I personally have never seen any complaint. I don't know any. I don't question Ben Lowe's integrity at all. You know what I mean? No. And so unless there's actual evidence, like somebody complaining online does not amount to evidence. So unless there's actually evidence of Ben not doing his job, there is no reason that they should fire him. And in fact, he may have some sort of legal recourse here in terms of wrongful termination. I hope so too, because if you're just going to bend to the masses when they complain about something like this, then it makes tremendous amount of work for the IOC to replace him as the judge. Who's qualified to do that position other than somebody who's already been doing it for 18 years for the WSL?
Well, and it's one thing for a robot to bend, right? Again, I know that I was canceled at Meta, not by a person flipping through evidence of my photo library to see where I was offensive. It was just the algorithm. I was unsettling to the algorithm. So goodbye to me. The IOC, there was people on that other end who were in charge of looking at, who know Ben Lowe, know his record, know everything, have the record before them. And let's give it up for the inertia David Lee Scales. Never thought I'd say that. But the inertia went and looked at Ben Lowe's Olympic judging and saw that he typically judges surfers lower than the mean. He judged Australian surfers 0.16 points lower than the mean, and judged Brazilian surfers 0.11 point lower than the mean. So judges Australian surfers lower than Brazilian surfers. And how in the world, if you're the IOC, do you not release that and say,
right,
there not only is there not a conflict here, shame on you for smearing this man's reputation, contrary to any evidence. And Pedro Scooby, you should go apologize. Take your giant carnival bus of rabid Brazilian followers back to Brazil and don't bother us anymore.
So the WSL has a real issue on their hands here if they're going to follow in this path and attempt to disentangle these types of relationships and friendships, because the surf world is completely incestuous this way. You know what I mean? Like, there's no way to disentangle this.
And I think that when judging controversies come up, if we're going to go down this path, right, if the IOC and the ISA, and I mean, the IOC is happy to go down this path, but if the ISA and the WSL want to go down this path, then you're going to have to get judges that do not travel on tour, because these guys go to too many small places. There's no way to keep them apart. They're all surfers. They're all bros. And I don't think, or rarely, maybe the Brazilians get into this, but Americans and Australians and South Africans and Frenchmen and whoever else don't get in, Portuguese don't get into, there is something rotten in the state of judging, right? Like, sure, judging gets criticized from time to time on a case-to-case basis, but there's no I don't think anybody thinks there's a grand national conspiracy anywhere, except for apparently Brazil.
I agree with you. The conspiracy isn't a national conspiracy, or nationality-based conspiracy, but to my mind, there's no way to disentangle your own preferences. If you're a surf judge, that means you love surfing. You got into surfing, you love surfing, you do the act of surfing, and inherent in that is viewing surfing and developing favorite surfers. And so how do you divorce yourself from having favorite surfers once you go into the judging booth? I would argue it's actually impossible to do, and that is kind of a futile effort of trying to make this objective.
And I think that, I mean, exactly to your point, and where there is kind of where the judging can go skewy a bit is preferences of style, right? As all of a sudden Ethan Ewing say, and this was the surfer case in point here, where his like kind of smooth power style is all of a sudden trending, and the judges can fall in love with that, right? Where in the past, though, they did fall in love with like Felipe Toledo's hyperspeed aerial style, right? Where I think style comes kind of in and out for the judges. And there could be an argument there like, hey, let's really, but I think they do. I mean, sure, they blow it like any judge sport gets it wrong from time to time, but I think overall the WSL judges are fine enough, right? I mean, it's funny or it's fun to comment when they do blow it, but overall, it doesn't seem like judging is the major problem with the WSL, nor has judging even been an issue at all at this Olympics. Has it been?
No. Well, that's the thing, is judging is less of a problem when the waves are pumping.
Yeah.
Judging is more difficult at 1 to 3 foot Huntington. Certainly that there's a lot more up for interpretation there. But when it's day 3 at the Olympics this year, it's pretty easy to tell who got the best ride. But I think the biggest problem is what you already identified, which is making it a nationality thing, making it racist, implying that the decision of the judges has nothing to do with any of those other preconceived ideas that I talked about, which is just preference for a certain style of surfing, and instead making it about racism, especially when the inertia does the math and it has nothing to do with nationality at all, but it still gets attributed to that. That's actually problematic for real racism.
It's insane to me. And again, I would like, if I had a line to Pedro Scooby, I'd say you apologize. You apologize for fully smearing a dude's reputation, like legitimately based on a photo of 3 dudes from the same town or same island on a dock with their arms draped around each other, celebrating the fact that they're from the same hometown. Like, give me a break. Literally grow up.
Total embarrassment, and you should prepare for the wrath of Pedro Scooby's father for next week.
Exactly. Bring it. He can join House Toledo. He can join Ricardo, the patriarch. Taking my Instagram away again.
Well, there's a couple of other stories here, and I think the lead story that we should have led with is the fact that Carissa Moore, in a teary post-heat speech, essentially retired from surfing officially. I'm going to play her post-heat speech right here for you now.
How are you feeling right now? We saw you get a little emotional over there, so I know it's a big time.
I mean, it's very raw. I mean, you put everything you have into something. I put my whole year. I took a chance. I left the tour. I came here and spent months out of the year just trying to do my very best. And when you come up short of a dream, it sucks. But at the same point, like, how fun was it? Like, I wouldn't have had it any other way. I would have been so bummed if I look back and been like, oh, I only did that half-heartedly, you know? Like, I went all in, and I just hope that at the end of the day, I can encourage whoever's watching, you know, win or lose, don't be afraid to go into it fearlessly, and don't be afraid to fail. You know, the process has been so much fun. I feel like there's been a lot of personal growth in and out of the water, and I'm really proud of my backside barrel riding. I caught some waves I never thought I would have ever caught in my whole life in this process. So obviously I'm really sad to not be a part of finals day and get to represent my home and my family one more time, but I'm really grateful, and I couldn't have imagined a better place to like finish off my career. I mean, so is this it? That was the plan. I'm gonna give myself some time to just take a break. You know, as much as I like to go, I announced my departure from the tour earlier on this year. It's been full on, you know, so it's been full on for my whole life. And I'm really proud of that. I'm proud of how I've given everything. Sorry.
Okay. You need a minute, please, too.
No, I think the last thing I just want to say is I want to express my gratitude to like everybody who's been there for me and supported me, not only in this event but my whole life. It's just nice to have a community behind you. So thanks.
Thank you.
Beautiful, heartfelt moment. And obviously we know that Carissa Moore going into this season said she was taking this year off, and she did want to focus on these Olympics. But the update here is that she's basically implying that she's retiring from surfing. Hey, you're muted. You're muted.
Sorry, back.
Got it.
Let's just give it up
Gotcha.
for some more. Let's take a moment and let's take more. I mean, yeah, tributes will come pouring in certainly, but talk about class, talk about everything the opposite that we've been talking about so far, about like just, I mean, Carissa Moore's whole career could be defined by so many superlatives, by flowery llama language. But number one, she was just classy, top to bottom, A to B, like every bit of her. I mean, just a class act, and huge congrats for going out as classy as she came in.
Never been a more dignified surfer, nor career, nor exit from the career. For me, Carissa Moore embodies, I think, the best of surfing, the best of everything that is surfing. She embodies it. And I would like to think that she quietly feels the same way that I do, and that this exit is actually a reflection of that. She's too dignified and too reverent of surfing's history, by the way, to continue to participate in the silly show that the WSL has become. And I think that she can't fake it anymore. I think to a certain degree, competitive surfing has always been disconnected from the initial premise of surfing, which is seated in individualism, exploration of both, one's own personal exploration, but also exploring the world. And it's about individual expression. And surfing into a pre-designed judging criteria is the opposite of all of that. But it is interesting to try to find out who's best. So she engaged with that for a bit. She got 5 world titles, which should have been 7, by the way. And so I think kind of coming to confront that is what has expedited her retirement from competitive surfing. I will also say that I think that her contributions to the sport far outweigh those world titles and those competitive contributions. I think that her aura is her greatest contribution to surfing, and that will stay with her in this next chapter of her life. And I think that the next chapter of her surfing might actually be more interesting and include better surfing than the last chapter did.
Totally. I love to see Carissa Moore take some real me time, just like go and decompress and relax, and then come back in a year or two with a video banger. How good would that be? Like
Totally.
a real proper, like, I'm going to go surf the way I love to surf now.
Just go, and it doesn't even have to be a video banger. Just engage in, maybe there's a clip here. Look what Dave Rostovich, has done, where it's kind of like you see a clip occasionally. Maybe he'll engage with Stab's new electric acid surfboard test, do a little bit of here, do a little bit of there, or whatever it is. It doesn't even have to be like big organized projects. Just go do you. By the way, go surf better waves than you have been. That was what was interesting to me, is to her saying she got some of the best waves of her life out there at Chopu, and there's big, obviously scary barreling lefts, but I'm shocked that she hasn't gotten those in the last 10 and 15 years of her career. You know what I mean? Because she clearly has the talent to do it. It's just that, as she said, quote, my life's been full on. She's been full on tour, and 80% of that has been surfing small, mediocre waves and waiting 2 or 3 weeks for those small, mediocre waves to even come, because she's at a contest site. So I think she'll continue to surf waves like this. She'll get the best waves of her life. I'm happy to be able to see them.
Totally. I mean, and the way she went out all in, I mean, of course, there's more, obviously. There's, when we talk about greatest surfer of all time, right? It's even a funny conversation to have. It's so ethereal, but making the argument that Carissa Moore is the greatest surfer of all time, comboing up her competitive prowess with who she is as a person and how she, like, honorably bowed out at the right time. Kelly, take notes, man. You want to be the greatest surfer of all time? Could have taken notes, could have followed Carissa Moore. It's too late for you now, buddy. There is a new greatest surfer in town.
Yeah, congrats, Carissa. Amazing. The other major storyline here that only Gen C has reported on, as far as I have seen, Huge story. Only one writer, Jen C. on beachgrit.com wrote, quote, Joao Chianca's return from horrifying injury to win at a massive Chopu is a near perfect Olympic story, exclamation point. And what Jen is referring to is in December, less than 8 months ago, Joao Chianca literally could not walk. He sustained a head injury at Pipeline. He literally could not walk less than 8 months ago. And as many as, I don't know, 5 months ago, he was surfing at 10%, like going straight on a soft top, basically. And then he had previously qualified for the Olympics already. So he was prepping for this Olympic showing. Day 3 of the Olympics was the greatest day of competitive surfing, arguably the most viewed day of competitive surfing ever. And Joao not only won his heat, but had the second highest heat score of the day by a near tiny fraction of a margin. He had an 18.10 heat total against Joan Deroux, I believe. Or no, I'm sorry. Actually, Joan got the best heat total. So Joao had an 18.10 and Joan had the best heat of the day at an 18.13. So 3/100ths of a point difference. Joao almost had the greatest heat score of the day on the greatest day of competition ever after not being able to walk 8 months ago.
Massive and huge. I called it though, David Lee Scales. No surprise to me. He's my pick to win gold medal at the end of the road there. The Paris Olympics. He's still in the road.
You called it slightly wrong. You did call him to win gold. He didn't actually win gold, but he almost won.
Is he out?
Gabriel Medina took him out yesterday.
Oh, the men surfing yesterday was a sneaky surprise for me. I thought they were only going to run the women, and I woke up today and read like the press release, like what? And so was so confused by it. I didn't even dig in very far. I was just, oh, wow, that's weird.
Well, it was a lot less newsworthy just because the waves are so mediocre yesterday.
Were they? I mean, I saw somebody posted on Beach Grit a screenshot of the waves. It looked amazingly bad. Was it that bad?
It was bad, yeah. The storyline, though, for me, well, one of the storylines, I guess, is Siqui Yang, the Chinese girl who everybody was questioning going into this event of like, wow, never heard her name before. She's young. She seems ill-equipped to handle Chopu. She lost against Tyler Wright, and she had a small heat total, but she was charging.
Yeah.
Like it was crappy, so she wasn't making waves because it's just that complicated to figure out. But there was no question about her bravado and her desire. She was charging harder than Felipe by a long margin.
I mean, it's not that hard to do that. But Siqui Yang to me is one of the greatest sub stories of the surfing Olympics. Like totally. I think that Joao's one, I think Carissa's one, and Siqui is one. And then Felipe, of course, is a major one.
Totally. Well, moving on from those storylines, we have, and by the way, if it feels like we're expediting today's show, it is because Chaz is on the street in Paris with probably a limited phone battery and things to do on a Friday night.
It's not even things to do. It's like I really am watching. I prepared poorly. I had my daughter's phone ready to go on that, and then somehow was sitting there trying to update Zoom because for some unknown reason, my 11-year-old daughter doesn't use Zoom on her phone, and so the app needed to be updated. I was like, "What's?" And it just wasn't updating. So I had to grab the wife's phone, who had to work, but wife gave it up for the grit community. But now she didn't charge her phone, so I'm just watching the thing tick down, down, down.
What happened to your phone?
My phone, the port doesn't work, so I can't plug the microphone in there because that thing doesn't work.
This might be the solution. Take a toothpick and clean out the port.
Okay. I don't know why I haven't.
Because I had that issue and I thought it was like a technical connection issue. And then I realized it was just lint from putting the phone in your pocket. Dirt and lint had gotten into the port and was blocking the connection.
Okay, I'm going to do that. But real quick, can we touch on Toledo or are we bored with Toledo?
No, go for it.
I mean, do you have any he completely did what everybody thought he would do on the day that mattered, right? So is this it for Felipe? I mean, I don't want to throw any more dirt on him because this seems like this is going to be a heavy enough burden to carry all by itself for him. So I don't want to pour burning coals on the poor boy's head. But is this it? Like, does Felipe retire forever after this?
He doesn't retire forever, absolutely not. But it's it for me, and it just further goes to underscore what we've complained about with the WSL, like them living in this false reality of making somebody who does, like, they don't understand surfing. So they design this thing where somebody who shouldn't be the world champ has become the world champ. And then everybody can kind of celebrate this false narrative or reality that misunderstands the initial conceit of surfing entirely. You know what I mean? And so that's the world we're living in. And so do we want to continue to pile on and poke fun and make fun? It is what it is. It'd be like me saying Adam Sandler is a crappy filmmaker. I don't know, like the guy makes more money than any other filmmaker and has more fans than anybody else. I don't think he's funny. I think the films suck, but it is what it is.
Yeah, I totally like, and I was not bringing Philippe up to make fun. In fact, I just wanted to know, like, where then do we go, right? Do we just not talk about him anymore? Like the chapter, not only the chapter, the book is closed on Felipe Toledo. We don't have to discuss him. It is what it is. It's finished.
That's how I feel about it personally.
Okay, great. Good. Me too.
There's more interesting things to discuss. You know, it's not even like I'm taking a stance and I'm going to like defend that stance. It's just, it's not that interesting to me anymore. No. We assessed the Cowardly Lion. We made fun a little bit. We waited for him to adjust. We waited. And now he's proven us at least 3 to 5 times in events that he had the opportunity to fully correct course. And now after 5 events, it's proven it is what it is.
Well, I mean, not just 5 events after the Olympics, where there was a sneak monster swell that came running in. And I mean, that was his moment. That was the time for the greatest Olympic story of all time, right? Philippe just sending it under the lip and doesn't want to over. Goodbye, Toledo.
Completely agree. Okay, in the sake of time, I'm going to skip over a listener's question about Olympic uniforms and whether or not the women should be allowed to wear G-strings. We can come back to that one next week if we want. But we have one that actually relates to the opening call. And this is from a listener who wrote in, "Hey, David, looking for advice here. A few weeks back, I was listening to an episode of The Grit where you guys explained that girls who drive Subarus are lesbians. That was the first time that I had heard that. But since I have heard that stereotype repeated many times. So here's my dilemma. I have a Subaru. I am not a lesbian, but I am single. So I'm wondering, do I need to sell my car? Or do I need to get a sticker or something to place on it to signify that I'm interested in men? Thanks for the advice. Keep work. Kindly, Jenny."
Jenny, thank you so much for writing in with the dilemma. And here's what I'm going to say about this. Do you know certain stereotypes just go away? They're not true. They're true no longer, right? This Subaru one is one of those. I can't remember when you and I would have discussed it. I can't imagine it would have been very recently.
It was like 3 months ago. I was watching a Tony Robbins seminar because somebody gifted me it. And so that became the topic of conversation for the show. And Tony Robbins gave the example of Subaru. It was a marketing decision to lean into the stereotype and start using it as marketing. And that actually was a turning point for the brand to find profitability.
Okay, but here's the thing with Subaru. I feel there's enough Subarus on the road now, Jenny, where unless yours is like an old model Subaru with like, you got to have outdoor stickers on the back in order to be, you know, like, I think there's ways to make your Subaru, easy ways to make your Subaru a lesbian Subaru. But also, if it's a newer model Subaru without "I love camping" on the back, you're probably good. I'd say there's I think Subaru, through the vast power of lesbian spending, became successful enough where I see Subarus all the time now. And there's so many Subarus. So, you know, like that first Cybertruck you see, right? The first Cybertruck you see, you say, that guy's a douchebag. That guy is trying to show off. Whatever feelings you have about the first Cybertruck you see, once you see 40 Cybertrucks and then 140 and then 1,000 Cybertrucks, you stop thinking anything about the person driving it, right? It's just, I see Cybertrucks. That's the way I feel about Subarus. I no longer look at a Subaru and giggle when I drive by, because I would be giggling all the time on the road.
So the problem with this is, you may be right, we have no idea how long that stereotype is going to last. And Jenny may be looking for a date sooner rather than later. And so what I'm going to suggest here is that we have a huge opportunity on our hands to do good and a step further than we did for James in San Diego and actually play the role of matchmaker in real time.
Boom. I love this so much. And you know what we're going to give? Uh-oh.
What?
You there?
Uh-oh.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm still here.
Good. We're running down. You know what we're going to give Jenny and date?
What?
A weekend in the weekend van.
Genius. Absolutely genius. We do have a weekend to give away in the weekend vans, which is arguably the better vehicle than the Subaru, no offense. But I reached out to Jenny. I replied to her asking where she's located because obviously that matters.
Yep.
She will reply. I'll get back to you next week. We'll find out what city she's in, what approximate area, and we will look for the ultimate hookup. We will vet some dudes. We will make it a game on the show, and we will play matchmaker.
This is perfect. So yeah, where Jenny's from, Jenny's interests. Are we going to go the Love is Blind model here, where Jenny's not going to be allowed to describe herself, nor the men? Or are we going to play Love is Blind doesn't work, let's be honest. And so Jenny, just give a brief description. Dude, you got to give a description too.
Here's the deal. I've helped people curate their dating app profiles before. I am successful at it. I have a couple of those people have ended up married. I would argue we've both married up. You and I know how to date. Yeah. We know how to marry up. I've gotten people ask me for advice on how to bag a 10. So I am in this business already. And I think that everything should be an open book. There shouldn't be any blind version of it. Like we'll get these guys social profiles so that she can see what they look like. She can understand what they do. We can take all the information and use that to our benefit to land Jenny a date and not have to worry about driving the Subaru. It's a great car. She should still be able to drive it.
Yep. And you shouldn't have to worry about date because we've got you covered, Jenny.
We absolutely do. So the weekend van comes in with weekend vans set this up for us without even knowing about Jenny, but we are going to leverage it. Basically, they're going to choose a name at random on August 16th. What you want to do is you go to weekendvans.com/surf. That is the portal. There is a little thing there to put in your email address. When you put in your email address, they will pick a random winner on Friday, August 16th. The winner will get 3 nights in the rental van to go anywhere you want in California. You got to pick up the van in Carlsbad. So that is on you. You want to make sure you're probably close to Carlsbad, but you pick it up, you have it for 3 nights, and you can use it anytime between August 17th and September 30th. So you have more than a month to make good on this, and then you get 3 nights, take it anywhere you want in California.
I'll tell you, I did that deal with the weekend vans. I had it for 3 nights. Weekend vans is even worth just parking in your driveway and going in. If that's what you want to do with it, if you want to drive the weekend van to your house, it has a fridge in there that stays cold all the time. It's got all kinds of stuff. You can leave your family indoors. You could say, hey guys, got something to do. Go in your weekend van, sit back, drink cold beers, watch TVs that are plugged in. Do whatever you want in that thing, man. In your own driveway.
It's incredible. And if you don't live in San Diego, but you feel like you're missing out on this game, guess what? We are going to save you $2,000 off your purchase of a weekend van or an upfit to a surf vehicle. Just when you go to make your purchase and, do business with weekend vans, tell them #keep work. Keep work is the indicator to save you $2,000 when you make a purchase on weekend vans.
I cannot believe the deal that we give to the dear listener.
And to Subaru, by the way, because we are helping them broaden their audience and correct the stereotype by showing that heterosexuals also drive Subarus.
Exactly. You've earned that market, Subaru. Congrats. Pat yourself on the nice, strong shouldered back. And now you can lean in to effeminate surf boys.
Absolutely. All right. Well, since we're running out of battery, we're going to go to commercial break and then we'll be back with Barrel or Not. Rocketmoney.com/surf. Just this week, my wife figured out she was paying a subscription for Showtime, but then also paying for Paramount Plus, which includes Showtime for free. That's precisely what Rocket Money was designed for. a modern tool that meticulously tracks the details that we easily get distracted from. It's a finance app that finds and cancels your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your monthly spending, and helps you lower your bills. It gives you freedom by helping you see your subscriptions in a simple dashboard and alerts you about hidden fees or increases. Rocket Money has over 5 million users and has helped save its members an average of $720 a year with over $500 million in canceled subscriptions. Stop wasting money on things that you don't use. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions by going to rocketmoney.com/surf. Calm the clutter in your head, simplify the tedium of your financial life, and find freedom through rocketmoney.com/surf. All right, Chaz, we are back for Barrel or Not. How you doing?
More prepared for this. I'm going to have batteries charged and things fixed.
That is okay. By the way, somebody wrote in, this is not an official Barrel or Not, but they just wrote in and said, Barrel or Not, having intro music to a surf podcast in Southern California, with the intro music being jazzy outro music to a 70s sitcom about taxi cabs in New York City. Obviously a huge barrel. I would also accept the outro music from WKRP in Cincinnati. Work.
Oh yeah, love it.
That was Derek's contribution to the show, by the way. The intro and outro music. Okay, Chaz, Barrel or Not number 1, posting on social media about your loss. And this, of course, is in relation to the Olympics, where you have these people, or any WSL event for that matter, where you have the loser of the event taking to Instagram and posting a gallery of photos going, hey, you know, I lost today, but my chin is still up, on to the next one, kind of a thing.
Yeah, no, I don't like it. I'm going to say no, Barrel. Unless you're retiring like Carissa Moore, and unless you are gracious and dignified like Carissa Moore, I want to see fire in the belly, man. I don't want you to celebrate that loss. I want you to put that loss deep in your guts, stew on it, turn it into some rage, some bitterness, some gall, probably later some cancer, but that's later. For the next year, it'll turn into victory.
I would be curious to hear what Cersei's take on this is as a professional guidance counselor, because honestly, I agree with you. I'm like, amplify your wins, but you minimize your losses. Like, I know you need content and you're supposed to be working the algorithm, but you could post something that day that has nothing to do with acknowledging the fact that you did not do what you were there to do.
Exactly. I mean, and I think that the people who are doing that, then it makes me think, okay, were you just happy to show up? I don't want to follow. I don't want to invest myself in athletes who are just happy to be invited.
I agree. Yeah, I'd say for Kanoa or whoever it is that does this, like, post a photo of you getting barreled, you know, on that trip, and point at that point, because that's a success. You got in a sick wave on this trip. Do not acknowledge the loss, and nobody will acknowledge it in your, you know what I mean? Like,
Don't touch.
Okay, Barrel or Not, wearing a watch with the face on the inside of your wrist.
Barrel, David Lee Scales. I'm a big barrel on this one. Big barrel. If that's your steez, then have at it. Mine will accidentally flip around that way often, and I just leave it there for a minute. And then, yeah, there's the dude, especially the older dude who does this. Typically the older dude in a nice dress shirt who has his watch strapped really tight to his wrist, face side in. I always look at that dude and say, that dude is a weirdo, but good on him.
See, I'm going no barrel. Do not strap your Veyer watch.com/surf splendor or any other type that way. I understand what you're saying. If the steez is the loose watch and it slides around, that's one thing. But there is no steez that is the internal tight facing watch. It's also awkward to even look that way. It's weird.
And I mean, I like the dude who flips the wrist in though. I mean, give it a go. Give it, and dear listener, also give it a couple weeks. Give it a week of inside watch wearing and see how you feel at the end of it.
I think your life goes to crap in that week. Everything starts to fall apart. Okay, final barrel or not. Doing a massive FlyAway kickout. This is one of the first things that I did in surfing that made me feel really awesome, but actually was probably super lame. But Gabe and cover shots have been posted of FlyAway kickouts, but then they kind of got called out during the video era where people identified, hey, that guy didn't actually land that trick. That was only for the photograph. And yet it is back with force, thanks to Gabriel Medina this week at the Olympics.
I love Jimmy Kane Wilson. I do. It was on X. Now that I am not on Instagram, I get to see what people are saying on X. Jimmy Kane Wilson came on, famous surf photographer, wonderful guy. Said something about, can we stop with the FlyAway airs now? Like photos of the FlyAways. Like Jimmy Kane is a real purist. And so I want to say, so I'm going to say no barrel on snapping a photo of a pro doing a FlyAway. I'm going to say all day barrel every day. If you've got enough speed on a wave that you are surfing, that you can do a big boosty kick out, man, you enjoy that thing, because that's as rare for you or I as almost any surf move. To have enough speed on a wave where you can like boost at the end, like really get up there, or like pull the leash taut. Like, how many times do you have enough speed to do that?
Well, I don't know how many times I do, but I can guarantee it's the only thing that I can do with that level of speed, because there is no chance I'm projecting into the wave or trying to like smash the lip with that amount of speed. So the only opportunity I have is flying off the back of the wave and trying to have fun.
Yeah, exactly. But it really is fun. I mean, you were like flying there for a minute. You were flying on the wave. And I will say, the only downside to it is exactly, you are right, is when you land on the water and say, wasn't that fun? And then you think, oh, what does a real surfer do? Oh, I guess they like somehow pack that speed and smash the lip.
I know. And the other thing is, the wave other than at Chopu, where it's sea level at the back of the wave, all other waves go down. So wherever you hit the lip and project out, there's another 3 feet below you that you didn't anticipate. So you're just like flapping your arms because you're higher than you thought that you would have been. It is the most fun thing to do. I am fully supporting it, but I agree with Jimmy Kane, and I agree with Jimmy Kane in that like it should not be sold as somebody who landed a trick or did a cool trick. And that's what's surprising to me about the Gabriel Medina image, is obviously it's a badass image. But it's shocking that that it wasn't one of him standing in a death pit that ended up going viral.
I don't know, but that one, there was something real mad. Not only that, does it look like he's walking, that on the clouds and all that, like every bit of it. It's when you zoom in on his face, he is so stinking handsome, and his one finger ray, everything is like pure poise in that moment. Like, so that is, Gabriel Medina does pack huge barrels, right? He does all the stuff with a lot of poise. That poise is on display there. I feel that's what made that thing go viral, is not that, like all the little things I think are part of it, but it's the poise on his face and with that one raised finger, totally relaxed body.
Yeah, to me, it is him standing on the podium with a gold medal. He's got his number one finger up. It's literally the facial expression, his body posture, his finger up is him standing on the podium. And that is the claim. It's like, I've projected that I'm winning the gold medal.
He's fully got this one. Brazil, guess what? All your whinging, Gabe was going to win it no matter what.
I'm betting on Kayuli Vost snatching it from him in the finals and taking it for France, just as I predicted last week.
Did you hear the little sneaky? It should have got written on Beach Crib, but didn't. Of Griffin Colapinto talking after his loss to Kayuli Vost, how it's really hard because basically insinuated that everybody in the channel is whistling and like telling Cowley where to sit and stuff. Everybody on the skis are like giving him the local knowledge, where Griffin wasn't complaining. He ain't no Brazilian. So he just took it on the chin. But he said it's like really hard when you're against him out there because, it's some true local advantage. Like everybody wants him to win. And so they're, speaking in whistle code of wave coming, etc.
Interesting. And I think that he should have used that to his own advantage when he was at Lowers fighting for a world title last year. Griff.
That's what I'm saying. I'm going to be there on the cobbled stone, Griff, whistling for you. Hey, Griff, there's a really good one out the back. Griff, set, Griff.
Well, it wasn't enough to help him last year. But one thing final thought on the Olympics and the day that was day 3. I am shocked now, 3 or 4 days later, that that didn't revolutionize and change surfing. I expected while I was watching it that day, I thought this is the day of that will do it. Tomorrow it's going to be on every mainstream media news channel, and surfing is forever changed. And the only thing I saw was the image of Gabriel Medina, and that was posted on the news and obviously on everybody Time posted it on their Instagram account, stuff like that. But that was it. It was a slight mention. And now 3 days on, I've not seen any video footage or anything.
It's funny. Somebody said on Beach Grit, which was interesting, I felt, of the surfing competition, the fact that it's at Chopu, like it feels like it's a separate thing from the Olympics. It's tied to the Olympics, but an entirely separate thing that's happening over there, which is essentially what it is, right? And so I don't see any of it here. Not one in Paris. There's not one like big surfing, nothing. Surfing doesn't exist here, right? Where I thought too, when that day of days went, I thought, exactly like you thought. I thought this is going to be the story. And, the initial slathering surf headlines out of mainstream, out of like Stab and the Inertia and stuff, like really trying to pump that up of this was the day. This is when surfing arrives, right? Like all this kind of stuff. Absolutely not. And I feel now, this was again from the Beach Grit comments, anybody who watched that day and said, there's somebody who said, imagine the dude who doesn't pay attention to surfing who watched that day and said, hey buddy, to his friend, you gotta tune into surfing. Surfing is the best. This is great. And then they tune in, and it was yesterday in like windblown garbage. And they're saying, "Oh, this is what?" Yeah, Jen C hit me up today, and she said surfing absolutely does not belong in the Olympics. Like having to grind through when there's all these other exciting storylines happening too. Like you have, Simone Biles and gymnastics. You have the storylines at the Olympics, like are myriad, right? That's what the Olympics is for, is these human interest sporting storylines. Surfing, it's too long. It's great. We're all weird addicts to professional surfing, or we like it or don't like it, but can't help but watch it. It doesn't belong. It doesn't belong in the mainstream. It's a weird backwater that's always going to be a weird backwater unless you can finish it. If they could have finished the entire Olympics at one day in that pumping Chopu, then I would say you might have made a blip on the radar. As is, you didn't even make a blip.
Yeah. I mean, if it doesn't breach the mainstream with that day, then it never will, because all of the elements aligned to really push it in and nobody cared. But I think the one thing that, like, look, I agree with you. If you're trying to stream it live, you're not going to get the experience. But what the Olympics does on their television channel on NBC here in the US is they will reserve stuff like that for prime time. And they did show it during prime time the following day or the day after for an hour, and it still didn't make a splash.
Like even with the big waves, they showed the good day. Okay.
Yes.
And
in prime time, like after the fact.
Yeah. Okay. Which is great. I mean, because it's still big waves are dynamic, and the surf fan at home or the person at home doesn't care about seeing it live necessarily. The surfing, they're not like, they just want to see the big waves. But I even want to, and it still didn't aired prime time, and there wasn't news the next day about fascinating. Yeah, it does not exist here. It's on zero billboards. That like Paris, of course, this whole city is Olympics, right? I mean, I have moved around from various quarters to various quarters. They're doing a great job, Olympics everywhere, blah, 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 blah. Not seen one bit of it.
Crazy. And I think the problem with the airing it at prime time is that their greatest audience is probably no longer just watching television on the sofa at home on regular television anymore. You know what I mean? So it's great that they aired it on that platform, but everything's so diffused now that's not a huge audience any longer. But the other element that I thought was really compelling about watching it that day was the difference between somebody executing a perfect ride and somebody doing the opposite is a crazy wipeout, which everybody loves to see, as opposed to all other Olympic sports. The difference between first place and last place is sometimes fractions of a second, or a dive that made a slightly larger splash. It's not somebody getting detonated,
Yeah. No, it's weird. It's weird that it didn't break through. I mean, I want to discuss this a lot further, I guess, post-mortem Olympics, but who would have thought everything going in? I thought this is, if the waves show up, this will be it. Like, this will be undeniable. One of the most beautiful backdrops in the world, at like genuinely like the wave that the superlatives are all accurate. Like, it's not, you know, it's funny to call it the most deadly place on earth and all that, but it really is like a deadly wave, right? I mean, it's
Yeah.
a dynamic. And so if that didn't work, maybe the surfing is sliding, nothing works.
I guess so. All right. Well, hey, great show. Thanks for doing this from the city streets. I appreciate it. And anything else?
That's it. Follow me on X.
Enjoy your time off. And yeah, we will see you next week. Until charge your batteries. But until then.
Keep work.
All right, man. Thank you.